Hello friends, welcome to the video lessons on electronic measuring instruments. In today's class, I am going to explain about RF signal generator and importance of shielding in high frequency applications. But before we go to the present topic, let us try to recollect what we have studied in the last class. In the last class, we have seen what are the applications of audio frequency oscillators and what are the applications of function generators. Audio frequency oscillator is a signal generator which produces signals within audio frequency range, that is 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. And the applications of audio frequency oscillator are they are widely used in electronics laboratories for testing of wave shaping circuits and used to check the amplitude and frequency response of amplifier circuits, and they are used to provide signal check in servicing of electronic equipment, and they are used in testing of audio systems. These are the important applications where an AFO is widely used. Next is a function generator. Function generator is a more versatile instrument, more versatile one when compared with AFO. Function generator produces waveforms of various shapes such as sine wave, square wave, triangular wave, sawtooth wave, etc. with adjustable frequencies and adjustable amplitudes, and all signals are available at the same time from the output of a function generator. Various applications of function generator are they are mainly used for testing and troubleshooting applications in various fields such as process industries, communication applications, research applications, laboratory applications, and automation applications. This we have seen in the last class. Now, in this class, we will discuss about what is RF signal generator and what is how the basic block diagram of RF signal generator look like. That means what are the various parts in a RF signal generator and how RF signal generator works. Then what is the importance of shielding in high frequency applications? This we will see in the today's class. As we discussed already, basic requirements for any signal generator are frequency of the generated signal is to be known and stable. Output amplitude should be controllable and stable, and the signal should be distortion free. And the same is applicable for RF signal generator also. What is an RF signal generator? RF signal generator is a signal generator which produces AC signals in the radio frequency range. that is 20 kilohertz to 30 megahertz. In practice, some RF signal generators provide sinusoidal output at frequencies in the range of 100 kilohertz to 100 megahertz also. So as per definition, RFO is a one which produces signals from 20 kilohertz to 30 megahertz. But whereas in practice, RF signal generators, they produce signals, particularly sinusoidal signals, from 100 kilohertz to 100 megahertz. So, and one more point here up to be observed here is RF oscillator, that is radio frequency oscillator, is the uh, basic part of RF signal generator, or the main part of RF signal generator. RF signal generator contains the following parts. First one, radio frequency oscillator. Second one, an amplifier. Third one, a calibrated attenuator. And fourth one is output level meter. RF oscillator. As can be seen here from the block diagram, RF oscillator provides radio frequency signals which are adjustable continuously as well as which are adjustable in range. That means in terms of decades. That is, fine tuning of frequency also is available, and at the same time uh, changing of the frequency range also using a range switch also is available in the RF oscillator. So we can say that RF oscillator produces a stable radio frequency signal which is adjustable either continuously or in steps. The output of this RF oscillator is given to an amplifier. What is the basic purpose of an amplifier? The basic purpose of an amplifier is to set the magnitude level of the radio frequency signal to the preset value of the calibrated scale in the attenuator. Preset value of the calibrated scale in the attenuator. That means, let us suppose that the attenuator has got 4 different ranges, say 0.1 millivolts to 1 millivolt, then 1 millivolt to 10 millivolt, 10 millivolt to 100 millivolt, like that. So in that case, what we have to do is, in any, suppose if the calibrated attenuator is the range switch is selected to be in a position of 0.1 millivolts, then we have to see that the amplitude level of this signal to be 0.1 millivolt to 1 volt. Sorry, 0.1 millivolt to 1 millivolt. So starting from 0.1 millivolt to 1 millivolt, you can get the output here, and that would be observed on a calibrated scale in the attenuator, just like this. Here is the calibrated scale on the front panel, and by rotating this knob, actually it would be a potentiometer for continuous adjustment, we can get the amplitude of the output signal accurately according to the scale. For that purpose, this amplifier is used. Suppose the attenuator is set to say another range, 1 millivolt to 10 millivolts. In that case, this set level signal should be, this amplifier should be adjusted to have the level as 1 millivolt. And that 1 millivolt, by adjusting the knob, we have to check here on the output level meter. There would be one meter available here on the front panel on which you can see the level of the output. That means depending upon the level of output here, we have to select the range appropriately in the calibrated scale. Suppose if the signal amplitude is say 0.4 millivolts here, and you select the range of 0.1 millivolt, then the calibrated scale does not give correct values. So for that purpose, what we have to do is, by adjusting this set level adjustment, we have to bring it to 0.1 millivolts level, or we can bring it to 1 millivolt level, in which case we have to select the next range here, so that the calibrated scale on the attenuator can give the correct values of amplitude of the signal which is available at the output. So is that clear? Basically it consists of 4 parts. One is radio frequency oscillator, which provides a stable radio frequency signal which is adjustable continuously as well as in steps. And the amplitude of that signal is set to the calibrated scale values, is set to the initial levels of the calibrated scale values by adjusting this amplifier. Output of this amplifier is given as input to the calibrated scale or calibrated attenuator. So whatever the signal we are providing here, that should be the amplitude of that signal should be matching with any one of the ranges, the starting point of the ranges in the attenuator scale. For that we have to adjust the set level and observe that here on the output level meter. Now once appropriate amplitude signal is made available at the input of the calibrated attenuator, then depending upon the scale of the calibrated attenuator, we can read the magnitude of the signal appropriately in all different attenuator ranges. So that is brief description about the block diagram of RF signal generator. And you can see here a band, a range switch for different frequency ranges. In band A, certain frequency range is given. Band B, another frequency range. Band C, band D, and band E, band F. So for each band, there is a specific frequency range, and this range switch is used only for selecting the band, that is this frequency range. Then this knob with a scale is used for continuous adjustment of the frequency, and straight away by rotating this you can read the frequency also. You can read the frequency also on the calibrated scale. This is in terms of frequency. Please don't get confused with amplitude. This is in terms of frequency, starting from few hundreds of kilohertz to few megahertz it is there. Say for example 100 kilohertz to maximum 40 megahertz, it will provide signal in 6 different frequency ranges, right? Then another one, this is calibrated attenuator. attenuator. Now here is the switch for uh, either 3 volts range or 30 millivolts range. Suppose if the switch is in 30 millivolts range, here the maximum is 30 millivolts. Accordingly, we have to note down the values as 0 millivolts, 5 millivolts, 10 millivolts, 15 millivolts, 20 millivolts, 25 millivolts, and 30 millivolts. If it is in the 3 volts range, we have to read the values as 0.5 millivolts, 1 millivolt, 1.5 millivolts, 2 millivolts, 2.5 millivolts, and 3 millivolts. And please remember, all these are RMS values. For DC signal, we take the average values, but these are all AC signals. So the measurement is in terms of RMS values. Then here there is a provision for modulation. This we will see within a little time. The RF signal generator is used to provide carrier frequency for modulation techniques. RF signal is a high frequency signal, and high frequency signal is used as a carrier frequency for data transmission. In communication applications, what we do is any audio signal as it is, that is within the range of 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz, when it is transmitted through a cable over a long distance or when it is transmitted through air over a long distance, there is the possibility of the signal getting attenuated. In order to, that means at the time of transmission we send the signal, every sound signal has got its own amplitude and frequency range. Suppose if I am talking, my voice also has got certain magnitude and certain frequency range. So if my voice is to be transmitted through a cable or through air, then it may suppose through air. Let us take an example. Suppose if I shout from here, at the most somebody who is standing at a distance of say 100 meters away from me can listen to my voice with very little accuracy. The one who is closer to me can listen to my voice more accurately. If I assume my voice as the signal, me as transmitter, and the other person as receiver who is listening, and the receiving assembly is in his ears, my transmitting assembly is in my voice, in my throat. So for transmission of signal, audio signal through air, the distance is very limited. Even through cables also, even through cables also, actually through air there would be a lot of distortion. As a result, you will get the signal to be weak, and the receiving end should be closer to the transmitting end. But even through cable also, uh, at the most I can transmit data to a limited range of say some hundreds of meters, but beyond that the signal gets totally distorted. That is because the frequency is very much vulnerable to the distortion, and the frequency can be attenuated over a period of over a distance. So as such, audio frequency signals cannot be transmitted. So they need a carrier signal. They need a carrier signal. And radio frequency signals are used as carrier signals. By using different modulation techniques such as amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, phase modulation. In phase modulation, once again, pulse amplitude modulation, uh, amplitude modulation is the modulation of radio frequency signal according to the amplitude of the audio signal. In this case, what happens? The frequency, the amplitude of the radio frequency signal is modulated according to the amplitude of the audio frequency signal. In case of frequency modulation, the frequency of radio frequency signal is modulated according to the amplitude of audio frequency signal. In phase modulation, the phase angle of the radio frequency signal is modulated according to the amplitude of audio frequency signal. Some other digital methods also are there: pulse modulation techniques, pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation. Variety of modulation techniques are there, and they are successfully implemented, and we are making use of those fruits only. But what I'm uh, trying to insist upon here is radio frequency signal is the source of, is the carrier signal to the audio frequency transmission or audio signal transmission. So here there is a provision for modulation by using an internal circuit or internal signal, or by using an external signal also. So if you want to modulate the output of this audio radio frequency signal, then that external audio frequency signal is to be applied as input here. In one socket here is available with the name in red socket. There you have to apply the signal, and at the output you will get the modulated RF signal. Modulated RF signal. And of course this is ground. Here we will get radio frequency output signal. Radio frequency output signal, that is as it is the original signal is available here, and when you in the external audio frequency signal you will get modulated output here. So this is one type of radio frequency signal generator, and here of course power indicator switch also is available. Then another radio frequency signal generator here is, here also you can see frequency bands are available, and continuous adjustment scale also is available, and attenuator is available as low or high, and fine tuning is given here, and radio frequency signal is taken here, and using external modulation, for using external modulation, here there is a switch, a slider switch. This switch has to be to the extreme right hand side position, and for internal modulation the switch has to be in the middle. For no modulation the switch has to be on the left hand side. When there is no modulation you can take the output here. When you are applying external signal input here, you will get the output, modulated output, and even for internal modulation also you will get the modulated output across these two terminals. Next, just description of the block diagram is given here. A radio frequency oscillator consists of frequency control and frequency range switch for setting the output to the desired frequency. Already we discussed here. Once again, just for your reference, this is the first one, RF oscillator. It consists of frequency control and frequency range switch. Second one is amplifier. It consists of output amplitude control. It allows the voltage applied to the attenuator to be set to a calibration point on output level meter. This is what I told. It allows the voltage to the attenuator, that is the output of this amplifier is the input to the attenuator, to be set to a calibration point on the output level meter. Calibrated attenuator, it will have the preset values. So by adjusting this set level, we have to adjust that to any one of the preset values here, and that can be observed on the output level meter. On the output level meter. Then calibrated attenuator. The output level must always be reset to this calibration point every time the frequency is changed. This resetting is necessary to ensure that frequency, yes, to ensure that the output voltage levels are correct as indicated in calibrated attenuator. So in order to make sure that whatever we are reading on the calibrated attenuator accurately, first we have to set the initial values correctly by using the amplifier according to the range selected in the calibrated attenuator. And the output level meter, it only indicates the output level, and it is used to ensure calibration point input voltage to the attenuator. Next, the oscillator circuit used in an RF signal generator is usually either a Hartley oscillator or Colpitts oscillator. Most RF signal generators include facilities for amplitude modulation and frequency modulation of the output. Switches are provided on the front panel to allow the user to select no modulation as well as internal modulation or external modulation, either amplitude modulation or frequency modulation. It may be noted that each section of the RF signal generator is shielded by enclosing in a metal box. We will see what is shielding and why shielding is necessary after this. But each part of the RF signal generator, radio frequency signal generator, is enclosed in a metal box. It may be copper or it may be aluminum, but shielding is must because we are dealing with high frequency signals. The whole system is then completely shielded. Once again, every part is separately shielded, and the entire unit, that is all four parts of the radio frequency signal, arranged on a plate, is the total arrangement is completely shielded. Once again, each part is shielded separately, and the entire assembly is also shielded separately. The purpose of shielding is to prevent radio frequency interference between the components and to prevent the emission of energy from any point except the output. So there should not be any radio frequency interference between components. This is very important because at high frequencies, what happens? Stray capacitances and stray inductances play major role. They will disturb the signal transmission, and they will disturb the signal generation. The component values would also change because most of the inductive and capacitive components, their impedances change or their reactances change with frequency. So obviously there should be a shield for radio frequency interference to prevent radio frequency interference between components. Then, to prevent the emission of radio frequency energy from any point other than except for output. That means radio frequency signal should not be available at the output of on the body of any other part of the radio frequency signal generator except at the output. So in order to do that, what we do is all shielding boxes, whatever we have placed on the different parts of the box, different parts of the RF generator are connected together, and they are connected to the chassis of the function generator. Chassis means the body, metallic body or metallic box which is covering the various parts, and that chassis is connected to the earth. So if at all any stray capacitances and stray inductances produce signals, radio frequency signals, or if at all any electromagnetic interference is there from external environment, all the thing is absorbed by the chassis and is connected to ground and is connected to earth, or of course the circuit common, what we say ground. By doing so, what we are doing is we are allowing only the output generated from RF signal generator to be made available at the output of the function generator, and all other radio frequency signals are bypassed to earth. Bypassed to earth. Suppose if shielding is not there, then we assume that the signal generator produces say 1 volt RMS and 20 kilohertz frequency, 20 megahertz frequency signal. But in practice, what actually happens is, in addition to that 1 volt and 20 megahertz signal, some external interference, either electromagnetic radiation or radio frequency interference, they either increase or decrease the magnitude as well as the frequency. Both magnitude as well as the frequency will change at the output. So what we actually expect from the signal generator is not available because shielding is not properly done to the device. So, as a matter of fact, even the power line also is decoupled by means of radio frequency chokes and capacitors to prevent RF emission from it. How RF signal comes out from supply mains? As such, the supply main produces signals of 50 Hz signal. But how do we expect radio frequency signals? Radio frequency signals are always available from supply mains due to fluctuations, either supply voltage fluctuations or switching transients. Switching transients are nothing but a combination of infinite high frequency signals. And even supply voltage surges, supply voltage fluctuations also will be of the high frequencies. So in order to prevent all these high frequency signals from the power line also is decoupled by means of shielding, and only whatever is the excitation, that is 230 volts 230 volts 50 hertz RMS signal is available, that only is given as input to the signal generator. And here you can see the basic block diagram including the modulation units also. Actually, what we have seen, RF signal generator consists mainly four parts. One is RF oscillator, amplifier, output level meter, and calibrated attenuator. In addition to this, is a simple radio frequency signal generator, and such signal generators also are available in the olden days. But present day RF signal generator includes provision for modulation also. That means, as I told already, RF signal is used as a carrier signal. So directly the RF signal can be used as carrier wave, and by using an external signal you can go for either frequency modulation or you can go for either amplitude modulation. Here you can see internal FM source. This is the audio frequency signal which is used for frequency modulate the radio frequency signal. And here there is internal AM source. This is used to amplitude modulate the RF signal, radio frequency signal. And not only internal, external inputs also can be given. There is a provision using a switch. We can select either external FM input or internal FM source. Similarly, using as another switch, we can go for external AM input or internal AM source. And you can see dotted lines here. RF oscillator is enclosed with a dotted line, which is nothing but a shield or box. Amplifier is covered with a shield or box. Calibrated attenuator is enclosed in a shield. Similarly, output level meter is enclosed in a shield. Internal FM source is enclosed with a shield. Internal AM source enclosed with a shield. And even the cables which are provided for external FM input and external AM input also are provided with shield. And you can see from supply mains the input is taken, and using the chokes and capacitors the power supply to the circuit is taken, and even that also is shielded here. The entire unit once again is shielded. Power line RF decoupling. This portion is called as power line RF decoupling. The entire unit is shielded. The purpose is to make sure that the output provided by the RF signal generator is of known amplitude and known frequency, and it is not affected by external electromagnetic radiation or external radio frequency interference. Now you can see how the shielding is done. Each unit is kept in a separate box, and the entire assembly would also be kept in a separate box. Particularly, this is necessary in high frequency applications. In low frequency applications, shielding is not that required, but in high frequency applications, we have to use shielding, and it is a must. Then, what is shielding? Shielding is a method used to protect a sensitive signal from external electromagnetic signals, or preventing a strong signal from leaking out and interfering with the surrounding electronic components. So external electromagnetic signals, say for example TV transmission signals or mobile transmission signals. All these are external electromagnetic signals which are of high frequencies. So those frequencies should not affect the RF signal generator output. Similarly, the RF signal generated by the circuit itself should not disturb the component values within the circuits, because component values vary with the frequency. When the frequency is varied, if the component values also are varying continuously, then we cannot guess what exactly is the output frequency. So, shielding is a method used to protect a sensitive signal from external electromagnetic signals, or preventing a strong signal, that is RF signal, from leaking out and interfering with the surrounding electronic components. What is the importance of shielding? Shielding is used to cover PCB elements such as IC chips, that is integrated circuits, other active components like inductors, capacitors, transistors, BJTs, UJTs, and all these components. Then connectors and cables, even cables and connectors also between PCBs. So shielding is used to cover all these things, that is PCB elements, active components, and connectors and cables. And what does it do by covering all these components? It absorbs the transmitted signals before they reach the sensitive circuitry. That is, the shielding provided on all these components, it absorbs the transmitted signals before they reach the sensitive circuitry. The protected signal is kept clean of electromagnetic interference, maximizing the shielding effectiveness. So whatever is the external electromagnetic interference or the effect of radio frequency signal or circuit components is minimized, and the protected signal, that is the output of the RF signal generator or any other high frequency signal generator output, is protected and is kept clean of electromagnetic interference or other radio frequency interference. The main purpose of effective shielding is to prevent electromagnetic interference or radio frequency interference from impacting sensitive electronic components. This is achieved by using a metallic screen to absorb the electromagnetic interference that is being transmitted through the air. So, a metallic screen, as I told already, either a copper or aluminum shield would be provided on all parts of the PCB. And what does it do? It absorbs the electromagnetic interference and radio frequency interference coming from outside, and that is grounded to sent to earth. The screen absorbs the transmitted signals and causes a current within the body of the screen, and this current is absorbed by ground connection or virtual ground plane. So this is how the effect of all external interference, either electromagnetic interference or radio frequency interference, is nullified. How? By providing a shield on the sensitive parts, and all the interference whatever is expected, that would be absorbed by the metallic shield, and that metallic shield would produce a current which is connected to the chassis, that is the body of the particular instrument. Any instrument, any circuit or any instrument, it would be covered by a metallic box, and that box body is called as chassis. So whatever is the current that is produced in the shield, that is connected to the chassis of the instrument, which is effectively connected to ground. As a result, the effect of radio frequency interference or electromagnetic interference would not affect the cleanness of the original signal. In general, aluminum or copper plates are fixed over the chassis of the equipment. Shielding provides isolation among various neighboring circuits to prevent electrical or magnetic interference. Then, so that is about shielding. What is shielding and why is shielding necessary, and how shielding will nullify the effect of interference signals, either in electromagnetic interference or radio frequency interference. Then, oscillators used in radio frequency signal generator. One is Hartley oscillator and the second one is Colpitts oscillator. Let us look into the circuit of a Hartley oscillator. As you can see here, a transistorized Hartley oscillator is available here. Now, a tank circuit is formed using L1 plus L2 in parallel with a capacitance, and a part of the inductance is taken as feedback input to the transistor. You can see no external AC signal provided to the circuit. Only biasing voltage is provided to the transistor. And this biasing voltage will serve the purpose. When you switch on the power supply, what happens? Due to the switching transients, as I told already, switching transients are combination of infinite number of high frequencies. So out of those infinite number of high frequencies, the tank circuit placed in the circuit would choose appropriate frequency according to the component values used in it. For example, in this circuit, the tank circuit will select only one particular frequency equal to the resonant frequency, that is 1 by 2 pi root L1 plus L2. All other frequencies are eliminated. Only that frequency signal, initially it will be of very small amplitude, and a part of that small amplitude signal is given as input, AC input to the amplifier. What happens? That very low amplitude AC signal is amplified and is given as input to the tank circuit. Now, tank circuit amplitude will increase. How? The capacitor in the tank circuit goes on charging towards the voltage applied across it. So, initially when the power is switched on, very low amplitude signal is available. So, capacitor voltage would be very low. As the number of cycles progress, that is, as the tank circuit output, a portion of the tank circuit output is given as input, and that input is multiplied or amplified a number of times. As the cycles progress, the tank circuit produces a high frequency signal with considerable amplitude, and that signal is used for external applications. And here Hartley oscillator is used to produce high frequency signals. And we have seen in the last topics, that is in audio frequency oscillator, we discussed about Wien bridge oscillator. Wien bridge oscillator uses only passive components, and Wien bridge oscillator produces stable and effective signals in the audio frequency range without any distortion. Similarly, in high frequency applications, Hartley oscillator is used to produce stable and distortionless signals. So this is a circuit, and here how a portion of the output is applied as input. If this circuit is a little confusing, you can have a clear view of how the feedback is given looking into this diagram. Here, this is the combination of L1 and L2, and the middle, the junction of L1 and L2 is grounded. This one. The same circuit is rearranged here simply. And now you can see clearly the input, that is at the base of transistor Q1, the input is nothing but either the voltage on capacitor C1. So this voltage is continuously amplified and is given as input to the tank circuit. Over a number of cycles, the amplitude goes on increasing and finally it reaches a stable value. Similarly, one is Hartley oscillator, the other one is Colpitts oscillator. In case of Hartley oscillator, we use a tank circuit with one capacitor and two inductors, whereas in case of Colpitts oscillator, we use one inductor and two capacitors. In both the cases, a fraction of the output is applied as input. And the tank circuit frequency here is 1 by 2 pi root L into C1 plus C2. In the previous case, 1 by 2 pi root C into L1 plus L2. Then, modulation. Types of modulation used in RF generators. One is amplitude modulation, the other one is frequency modulation. I think this already I have discussed in detail. Modulation is nothing but changing the magnitude of the carrier signal or changing the frequency of the carrier signal in accordance with the audio signal. In amplitude modulation, what happens? The audio frequency signal is applied as input and carrier frequency signal is applied as another input. Carrier frequency means radio frequency is applied as another input, and the circuit produces an output, and this output, the magnitude of the radio frequency signal, that is the magnitude of the high frequency signal, is modulated according to the magnitude of the low frequency audio signal. Low frequency audio signal. And in case of frequency modulation, low frequency signal is given here and variable voltage capacitor or a varactor diode is used here, and this arrangement produces high frequency RF signal. Now the output would be frequency modulated output is given. Now coming to the present topic, that is the specifications of RF signal generator. What are all the important specifications of RF signal generator? Important specifications are output frequency. Here, a commercially available RF signal generator It is not a fixed value, but for a particular commercially available meter. 0.15, that is 150 kilohertz to 550 megahertz. It produces the frequency, and error in the frequency is less than 1%. Error in the frequency is less than 1%. Output impedance is 75 ohms, very low. Output voltage is 50 millivolts RMS, and depth of modulation is 30% in case of amplitude modulation. This is, as I told already, actually the values vary for various manufacturers. Only the specifications are these things. What we have to check is we have to check the output frequency and error in the output frequency, what is the output impedance, what is the output amplitude, and what is the modulation depth, amplitude modulation or frequency modulation. And the applications of RF signal generator are for testing of amplifier response, and for alignment of radio and television receivers, troubleshooting of electronic equipment, checking various instruments in the laboratory, generation of AM and FM waves. We have discussed about all these while discussing about RF signal generator. So once again, let me repeat. Testing of amplifier response, alignment of radio and television receivers, troubleshooting of electronic equipment, checking of various instruments in laboratory, and generation of AM and FM waves. So these are the applications of RF signal generator. Now you can see how AM or FM signal are generated using this one. This is the original carrier signal, high frequency one. Low frequency one is the modulation signal, AM signal. That is a sound signal. The first one is the amplitude modulated wave. That is the amplitude of the signal is modulated according to the amplitude of the carrier signal. The carrier signal is this one, low frequency one. Second one is the frequency of the carrier signal, that is high frequency one, is varied according to the amplitude of this signal, that is low frequency audio signal. Now you can see here, when the magnitude is increasing, the frequency is more. When the amplitude is decreasing, frequency is less, and gradually frequency is increasing. Gradually frequency is decreasing. That means the frequency of the high frequency carrier signal is modulated according to the amplitude of the low frequency audio signal. So that is all about applications and specifications of RF signal generator. RF signal generator is an instrument which can generate various RF voltages. It is used for alignment of radio and television receivers and used for generation of AM and FM modulated signals. AM and FM signals. Modulation is already there. AM and FM signals. This is all for today, and the questions are which can be asked in your final exam. What is an RF signal generator? List the specifications of RF signal generator and list the applications of RF signal generator. What are the applications? Is a question mark. RF signal generator. This is all for today. Let us stop here, and in the next class we'll discuss about a new topic on CRO, cathode ray oscilloscope. Thank you.